Hi everyone, this is the Shiv. Today we're going to talk about the new Hunter Naxxramas card that was introduced, the Web Spinner. At first glance, this card was extremely underwhelming to me, and here's why. It's a 1 mana drop, it's 1/1, it's a beast, it's Death Rattle, draw a random card. Now a lot of people were expecting either a secret or a weapon, since we've only seen one weapon introduced to the game. Which, let's be honest, that weapon is OP beyond all measure. But I think a lot of people were expecting either hunters to get another secret or get a weapon, which would have made sense. But for a new beast, and one that's just kind of like low powered, we were kind of, well, disappointed. Personally, I wanted Darkspear Hunter back, but moving on. Alright, so it's a 1/1. It's got Death Rattle, which a lot of cards in the Naxxramas set have. And it's giving a beast Death Rattle. This isn't an unheard of thing. The beast itself, the legendary, actually comes with the Death Rattle. So does Sylvana Jaime. So this is adding just yet another Death Rattle card, which is actually more than any other class, if memory serves. Which sets them to make some really interesting Death Rattle based decks. So I mean, you could do a mid-range one very nicely, actually. You could even do aggro. It works great with aggro. But I think initially a lot of people are not going to like this card, and once they actually get around to using it, they're going to fall in love with the card. This card can easily be subbed in to face brush decks with a little bit of modification. This can replace the Stone Tusk Boar, because now, hey, you're replacing the Stone Tusk with another beast that's going to combo well with other things because of the Death Rattle. And that's going to be really an interesting mechanic that I think we're going to see a lot of people doing come Nax release. So in preparation for this, I actually made a deck based off this concept, and a lot of people seem to be really enjoying it. So let's take a look at it now. Alright, so this is my Naxxramas Hunter aggro deck. Now, I couldn't come up with a clever name, to be honest with you. I was thinking something like Safari or, Mausoleum or whatnot, but it just wasn't working for me, so. Okay, so here we go. You got your 2 Hunter's Marks. Great card in pretty much every deck. 1 Flare. Why? Because secrets, new secrets introduced, people are going to be playing them. These flares are going to become lifesavers. You may want to actually opt for 2 flares. Don't know yet. Not to mention the fact that Ice Block will still be in a lot of mage decks, and Flare basically is a godsend at that point. 1 Tracking. Nothing says, give me a solution like something that digs 3 deep. Web Spinner. Alright, so here we got our first Death Rattle. Okay, and it's a beast. It's a 1-drop. It'll power your kill command. It'll power your Undertaker, which we're going to get to here in a minute. So that's a lot of versatility with the card. Okay, Explosive Trap, Freezing Trap. Now, there might be some arguments on this one. Why using explosive and freezing? Couldn't you just get rid of the freezing and maybe drop one misdirection and maybe add some Nerubian eggs? I thought about this, and I thought really long and hard on it. When I initially saw the Nerubian egg, I was like, oh my god, the potential of this card, you could do so much with it. Yeah, it looks great on paper, as my friend Jodo loves saying. It's great on paper. But when you actually get down to the realistic playing of it, it's horrible. It's a tempo loss no matter how you look at it. It's a card that you actually have to invest in. And what I mean by, the card is absolutely garbage until its effect goes off. And then it becomes somewhat of a threat, but the tempo loss you get from that is just unacceptable. So I opted not to put it in there because for an aggro deck, it just felt like it was losing too much speed for it to be viable. Another thought is, hey, how come no Harvest Golems? Well, again, I just really didn't feel Harvest Golems were going to be good, and Misdirection is a great card. In so many instances, when played correctly, you can easily just power your opponent down with his own minions, or have your opponent clear his own board, which I've done many times, and I always laugh when I do it. It just is a fun feeling. So, yeah, the 5 traps here, really, really needed. Aggro is still going to be relevant, so explosive, definitely going to be needed. Freezing trap, if you could throw back like their biggest minion or any minion and force them to have to play it again the next turn for an increased cost, that's a tempo loss for them on a couple different levels. One, they didn't get any value out of it the first time. Now they're having to pay even more value, which means they can't put anything else out instead. And even if they decide not to play it the next turn because they've got the mana to do it, they'll play it later on. It's still not going to be worth its value. So it's really good. That, and it powers the Eagle Horn Bow. Okay, so Starving Buzzard works great with the Unleash the Hounds. Also, Web Spinner, yay. So you're going to be able to get a lot of draw off this. Plus, you know, Unleash the Hounds plus Hunter Mark, you're going to be barreling through any kind of taunt minions they throw out. But just in case, there is an Iron Beak in here. Now, I find anything more than one Iron Beak is a little bit wasteful, but at the same time, I prefer consistency over, you know, functionality. But with the Iron Beak, it's one of those exceptions to my rule. Alright, so Deadly Shot. Here's the other exception to the rule. Deadly Shot. This card may not seem all that great on paper and wherever else you look. It may seem just garbage because of the RNG nature. However, I'd like to point out one thing, and this is one thing that I think a lot of people seem to forget. One of the most relevant decks that is in the meta right now is Miracle Rogue. Even with Naxxramas, this deck is still going to persist, alright? People really need to understand that. That deck is going to persist. One of the best ways of slowing down or stopping a Miracle Rogue deck is to simply destroy the Gadget Sand the moment it hits the field. Now, this is a really difficult task because they normally stealth it immediately. Okay, so we have 2 options to deal with that. Flare, which again is why I said you may want to carry a second Flare. Or Deadly Shot. Deadly Shot doesn't care if it's stealth. Deadly Shot doesn't care if, you know, it's 8, 5, 2, 1, whatever. It will kill it, as long as it's the only minion on the board. So you may have to, you know, take a little damage with the Eagle Horn Bow just to ensure you're going to get rid of it. Now, will this guarantee your win against it? No, but it'll give you a little bit more breathing room. Maybe not much if he's got both of them in his hand. So keep that in mind. Alright, Eagle Horn Bow. This is your money maker. This is going to do a lot of the initial damage for you. Combining with the traps here, going to give you a lot of great value. Now, people really hate weapons, and with that new warrior weapon that's going to be introduced to Nax, they're going to be less inclined to be carrying a acidic swamp ooze, because you swamp ooze that, no matter what, its death rattle is still going to go off. There is no way of silencing a weapon. I've tried to see if it's possible. No, you cannot silence a weapon in any way, shape, or form. Its ability will go off. So you acidic swamp oozing it, Harrison Jonesing it, congratulations, you're allowing it to do 1 more damage. So you throw a Harrison Jones down or acidic swamp ooze, congratulations, your swamp ooze now only has 1 life left. Excuse me. Which means the follow-up whirlwind is going to kill it. So I'm feeling like the Eagle Horn Bow is going to be a little bit more persistent coming up in the new meta. Okay, Kill Command. This is a strong card no matter how you look at it. With Web Spinner added into the deck in replacement to the typical Stone Touch Boar, it's going to remain about at the same power level, and you're going to get the same functionality out of it. Unleash the Hounds, again, if you play Hunter, you know all about the Starving Buzzard and the Hunter's Mark combos in order to clear board, get card draw. So, right. Okay, Leper Gnome. It's a death rattle, it's 2 damage, it's pretty much standard in a lot of aggro decks, so hey, it works. The Undertaker. This guy, this is going to be the bane of a lot of people's existence. The fact that it's a 1-drop, and it's a 1/2 that gains a +1 for every death rattle minion, makes it insane. Early ramp decks are going to suffer greatly against this. You're going to see people pulling out silences left and right. In all honesty, the Iron Beak and Priest are probably going to see a little bit of rise in popularity because of Death Rattle. But yeah, he's the reason why. Undertaker, just the amount of damage he could easily obtain is disgusting when you think about it. Play down Undertaker coin, web spinner. Let's go that route. Okay, so you now made a 2/3 with 1/1 that if you kill the 1/1, you could possibly draw a King Crush. Not that this deck really needs a King Crush, but there are other beasts that it would definitely benefit from. So keep that in mind. You could also use your Leper Gnomes. Boom. Kill the Leper Gnome. Take 2 damage. Hey, you still got 2/3 to deal with. Loot Hoarder. Okay, kill the Loot Hoarder. I draw a card. Either way, all of the Death Rattle cards in this deck benefit you to one degree or another. So there really isn't a Death Rattle in this deck. I thought about actually putting Dancing Swords in there, but its Death Rattle is kind of a negative. You do gain a little bit of a tempo gain by having a 4/4 for 3, but I did not feel that was worth giving your opponent a draw. Sorry, I really didn't. Okay, next up, we already covered the Iron Beak. Arcane Golems. Okay, now typically your Face Rush Hunter decks are going to run like 2 Wolf Riders and probably 1 Arcane Golem, just for a simple fact of, oh, you don't want to give them too much of an advantage on mana. This is a very true statement. However, the one thing I've been learning is just sometimes you need that 1 extra damage. Turn 6, I could pop out both of these for that 8 damage just to weaken them down. Yeah, sure, I'm going to give them 2 mana crystals. But are they going to be able to turn that game around after that? Probably not. But still, not always a good idea. Plus, it gives you consistency for a turn 7 10-point combo with a Leroy Jenkins. That's a little bit better. So, one of these plus Leroy, that's 10 damage. By having 2 in the decks, I can kind of get to that a little bit easier. Not extremely, because I've still only got 1 Leroy. Alright, but it does give you some options. Now, normally these decks also run Abusive Sergeants, and as you can tell, we took those out in favor of the more Death Rattle-y stuff. And I think that that's actually going to make a tremendous improvement. Now, this deck is not going to be as fast as your typical Face Rush Hunter deck in any way, shape, or form. It's going to actually be using the Undertaker and your Death Rattle stuff more in a kind of zoo-style trade while you get all the rest of your pieces together. So you can actually just burst them down. And yeah, I think it would actually be something extremely fun, and I think we're going to see a lot of play on this. Now, another concept that I haven't fleshed out yet is the mid-range. Now, mid-range offers a lot of interesting combinations here. You could actually drop the trackings altogether from mid-range in lieu of Loot Hoarders. It's actually a safer bet. You're not throwing away anything. Cool. You could also put in Undertakers with that, because your mid-range is going to have Savannah Hymens. Now, that's a Death Rattle. Alright? You could throw in Leper Gnomes for that. And a lot of people want to argue, oh, Leper Gnome doesn't belong in a mid-range or a control. That's not entirely true. If you're forcing your opponent to kill your Leper Gnome, whether it be through a weapon, through a hero power, or even a spell, that means that's not a minion they're putting on the board, and they're still going to take damage unless you're playing against the Shaman. Some odd reason, Shamans will waste a Earthshock on a Leper Gnome, mostly because they don't want to end up taking 4 for something that costs 1 mana. So, you could put Leper Gnomes in it, you could put Loot Hoarders in it, You could put the Sylvanas Highmane, you could put Blood Mage Thalnos in it, and it'll work. It really will work. You're going to get a lot of combo off that. Now, in that deck, I could see Dancing Swords actually being viable. But the problem is, it's still not all that great of a Death Rattle card for it. I would probably take a Harvest Golem over taking Dancing Swords every day of the week if you're going to use a mid-range hunter using max cards. Anything else, you're just going to really be left with a bad taste in your mouth. Nerubian Egg. Nerubian Egg could work to some degree. I'm not sure it would work well in a mid-range hunter deck, however, because, okay, so you get a 4/4. Alright, now what? It's not like you can Beastmaster it, because we don't know if what hatches is actually a beast or something else. We haven't seen what that token's going to be. If it's a beast, then that opens up a lot more playability for the hunter. If it's not, well, we'll find out. So, yeah. But anyway, start looking at different cards that you're seeing coming out, because we have a whole bunch more neutrals coming out. We've seen a bunch of Death Rattle stuff first, and then we got our class cards. And I'm expecting we're going to see something that's kind of like anti-Death Rattle to a degree, maybe, or some other. We might get more Death Rattle, but I'm thinking we're also going to see other cards that add new effects that aren't Death Rattle, but stuff we've never seen before, more random effects, because, well, Blizzard loves to tell a story. And so start thinking about what the possibilities of what you could do with what you have now, and you'd be surprised what you could come up with. And if you have it, get yourself the Cockatrice emulator, and export decks from like Hearthstone, because it's got the feature, into it. Play with friends. See how your combinations are coming out, and you'll actually start seeing what's working and what's not working. This is why you talk to a lot of people who play this game a lot, and you're like, oh my god, this card's great. And I've done the same thing myself. I was like, oh my god, this card that's coming out in Nax, Avenge, oh, the possibilities of it. It's like, yeah, that doesn't work out as well as you think it would. No, it really doesn't. I didn't have a chance to test a lot of it with some of my friends, and recently I actually got to sit down and actually do some deck testing. And a lot of what I was being told by other people was actually correct. Those concepts were not going to work out very good at all. So same thing with the Void Caller. That one's a little gimmicky. It can work, but not as well as you think. So yeah. Anyway. So this is a Shiv. I hope you enjoyed the deck. I hope you enjoyed the explanation behind the Hunter card. I should have some more information, as well as a Warlock Death Rattle aggro deck that I've been working on, coming up here in the next couple days. If you liked the video, like, subscribe, whatever the thing you have to do on YouTube. And remember, you can find almost all of my decks posted up on Hearthstone. Thank you, and good night.